Stay tuned as we will be going live soon. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Melo Media. Melo Media. Melo Media. Stay tuned as we will be going live soon. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Melo Media. Melo Media. Melo Media.
Good afternoon. My name is Chileshe. I'm a development practitioner, and you are on Melo Media Live. And we have embarked on a series of broadcasts on the concept of entrepreneurship, trying to understand it so that we can make good use of it in our context. And this broadcast is being shown every Sunday at 17 hours. In our last broadcast, we sought to basically present entrepreneurship as a very distinct concept, something that stands on its own and can be applied to different spheres of life. We did emphasize that entrepreneurship is not about business. It's not about running business, because it is about what happens, whether it is in business or elsewhere. So when you're talking about entrepreneurship, you're trying to describe what happens. You're not talking about business, politics, religion, or anything else. You're describing what happens. So if there's entrepreneurship, then something must have happened. And that's what you're referring to as entrepreneurship. That something which can happen can be evident in business. And so if we understand it well, then we can see whether it is happening in business or it's not happening. We can see how we can promote it, encourage it in business, because we know what it is. We want entrepreneurship to be evident in business, but first we must step back and understand entrepreneurship so that then we can then bring it and introduce it to business and make it work for us. So I'm just putting up slides here just to quickly recap what we had pointed out last time. And in the last broadcast, we did say that entrepreneurship is a creative distraction because it's disruptive of status quo, because it seeks to create a new normal, a new and better normal. And it involves sometimes the creation of organizations, and I'm not saying businesses here. By organization, it can be anything formal, informal, but organized way of doing things. That's what I mean by organization, okay? And then it can be the pursuit of opportunities irrespective of existing resources, as some have said. But what I placed emphasis on is this fourth point there, which says the process of creating something different, because you're disrupting the status quo, so it will be different, with value, okay, because it's supposed to benefit the environment, by putting in the necessary resources, and I've listed their time, effort, and also taking financial, social, and physical risk. I did mention there's an element of risk there to obtain monetary rewards or personal satisfaction. So it may be monetary, it may not be monetary, okay? So basically, entrepreneurship is this process of disrupting status quo to create something better by committing some level of effort to see something good come out at the end of the day. That's the layman's way of defining it. We can get technical, but that's not the objective of this series of broadcasts. We just want something everybody can understand. Entrepreneurship is that process of creating something different and better by disrupting the current status quo, the way things are done, doing things differently by applying effort and coming up with something that is desirable. So moving reality to another level. That, we're saying, is entrepreneurship. I did refer to Adrian Mui, and I said Entrepreneurship has to do with enhancing reality, okay? So at a personal level, it's the act of enhancing one's reality. And because of that, it goes beyond specific spheres. It's not business, it's not this. And even when it manifests in business, it will at the same time manifest in other spheres of life. By the time a cell phone is invented, which is very disruptive, from a landline to a cell phone, okay? Someone is excited that they have created a way in which people can communicate on the go, mobile. Okay, so it has transformed the way we live our lives. Yes, somebody has cashed in on the invention on this revolutionary gadget, but at the end of the day, it is not just the business side that has profited. Our entire lives have been changed permanently because now we have cell phones to use, to do different things, to manage our lives, okay? So it is beyond business, it is very entrepreneurial, but it does not stay in business only. Now, I have something there, I think we used to call it a Venn diagram, if you recall. The rectangular box there represents the whole of society. Now, what I'm trying to argue here is that within society, you can find entrepreneurship as a component that exists. You can find business, and you can find those other things that are outside entrepreneurship and business, okay? If you classify people, then there'll be those that sit in entrepreneurship, those that sit in business, and those that sit in other things, okay? Now, if you're looking at business in this particular case and entrepreneurship, what we're saying is that there can be an intersection. If you see that shaded area there, that's an intersection between entrepreneurship and business. So it is not all of entrepreneurship that has to do with business. It is not the whole of business that has to do, currently at least, with entrepreneurship. So you find that the entrepreneurs who are not in business, you find business people that are not entrepreneurial, but then in the intersection, you find business people that are actually entrepreneurial. Those are the change makers. Those are the ones that are transforming our reality. And obviously, because they're doing something that is positive and beneficial, they are cashing in on the money because everybody wants something good. And so they're willing to put money on the value that these business entrepreneurs are creating. So you can have entrepreneurs that are not business people. And from the research I've done within Zambia, I can tell you that a lot of our business people are not entrepreneurial. So that intersectional space is very small. And one of the things we need to try and do is to increase that intersectional space, try to move as many of the business people into entrepreneurship so that you have many businesses that are entrepreneurial. Then they'll be transforming our reality, they'll be creating value, and they'll obviously make money because we will pursue that value. We'll be willing to pay for that transformative value that is being created by them. So then let's try and understand, what does this entrepreneurship look like so that we can see it, we can develop it, we can apply it to ourselves, we can become more and more entrepreneurial ourselves. Okay. If you look at literature, research that has been undertaken to understand entrepreneurship, okay, over many years, the 5 things that you're looking at there have emerged as being very critical. From what I've been saying earlier, you agree with me that entrepreneurship must be transformational because it's a creative distraction. It must change the way things are done permanently and for good, in a positive way. Entrepreneurship, secondly, has to do with identifying opportunities and exploiting them, okay? Making the most, because if you're going to disrupt status quo, then you're going to look for cracks in the way things are done and use those cracks to actually make your entry and change the way things are happening. So opportunity is fundamental. It's a fundamental pillar to entrepreneurship. But I started with transformation, and then opportunities as key to that transformation. The third thing is there is the application of resources. Remember, we talked about effort. So then resources will be applied to entrepreneurship. Time is a resource. We often overlook that. The human beings are a resource in themselves. And we can also talk about a few other resources that before we talk about money, money is a resource, but it's not the most critical resource. This I must emphasize. Money is not the most critical resource in entrepreneurship. You must have the right people, exposed to the right kind of information, and working within a particular space of time. Once you have those first three, then you can introduce money as a catalyst that makes things happen. Very important, and we'll talk about this a little later. So that's on number 3, resources. On number 4, there's the element of risk because you're doing something different, something new. So you are going outside the norm. And because of that, there's no precedent or very few precedents. So there is the uncertainty that goes with whether or not things are going to work the way you expected. So, and that introduces the aspect of risk. Number 5 is the issue of benefit, because all is being done for a particular purpose. There must be an end point, an end game. What are we trying to achieve? Why are we doing this? In fact, it is that benefit that drives entrepreneurship. Because a good point is envisioned, a good state of affairs has been envisioned, then entrepreneurs will be driven to pursue it, even when they know there is risk, even when they have to apply resources, because they're trying to achieve something at the end of the day. And that is what we are seeing there, that number 5 referred to as benefit. I would like to just end this broadcast with my little story here about Mavuto Tembo. And the story goes that in 2019, I met Mavuto Tembo, and he was selling tomatoes on a sheet of paper. Obviously, he looked very miserable, if you see there, 2019. And I engaged him around entrepreneurship. You know, we related and we spoke, and he seemed to have picked something. I left. I went back in 2021, and there is our Mavuto Tembo. Obviously very different. Look at him there, you know. Something must have happened. Whatever happened to him must have been because he transformed within himself as far as entrepreneurship is concerned, as the story goes. And there are 5 things there that happened, and I'll just quickly go through them. We'll discuss them in more detail in later broadcasts. Number 1, his need for achievement changed. Entrepreneurship starts in the person, because the person is the principal driver of entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship must exist in a person so that it can now manifest in the environment and create entrepreneurial change. So that which we'll see around us must have started with somebody or some people that first of all embodied that entrepreneurship and then applied it, so it manifested in our environment. So one of the first things that we must look at is the need for achievement. This person was driven to achieve. It's a personal state. Number 2 is the ability to take responsibility for their current circumstances so that they can transform those circumstances. So one of the things that changed about Mavuto, instead of him complaining and blaming everybody else and expecting everybody else to come and change his situation, he took it upon himself to create the change. First of all, he acknowledged that he was in this particular situation because of some of the things he has done, not completely his fault, but he has a role to play. And so if he changed the role that he's playing, he could facilitate his own transformation and other things will come in. Number 3 is something about self-confidence. If you look at Mavuto in 2019 and 2021, there's something just about his face that tells you that a lot has happened. In psychology, we call it self-efficacy. Being confident in what you are capable of doing. Okay, if we just say confidence, sometimes confidence can be misplaced. You can have confidence about something that you shouldn't. But when we refer to self-efficacy, we are saying that you understand what you're capable of doing and you have confidence in that. And you know what you cannot do well, and you do not have confidence in that. So you know where your strengths lie, and you're willing to utilize that to get yourself to another level. Number 4, it is the ability to tolerate uncertainty and ambiguity. Lack of clarity does not polarize this person. We did say that entrepreneurship has risk as one of the aspects. So for you to be able to take on elements of risk, you must be able to tolerate some level of uncertainty and ambiguity, lack of complete clarity. Number 5 there is ability to solve problems. So problem-solving orientation. In fact, an entrepreneur sees opportunities on the other side of the problem. What is a problem? Has the opportunity behind it. So opportunity is on the other side of a problem, the other side of the coin. So Mavuto was able to see this and begin to address some of the things that he saw were problems, and everybody else kept seeing the problem. He provided the solution, and he cashed in on the opportunity. And as we can see, Mavuto is at another level altogether. I will stop there for this broadcast and just emphasize that entrepreneurship is about enhancing reality. It manifests in our environment, and we see it, okay, in the fact that there's been transformation, opportunity has been exploited, there's been resources applied, risk has been taken, and there have been some specific benefits. But then we're also saying that entrepreneurship resides in the person. That's the principal agent. And that person must have certain attributes for them to facilitate entrepreneurship. Thanks for joining me in this broadcast on Melo Media. Look forward to having you as we explore this concept even further on next Sunday at 17 hours. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you for watching. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Melo Media.